Today, we're diving into a topic that's not just fascinating, but also critical for understanding the Bible, specifically Deuteronomy 32:8. If you've ever come across this verse, you might have noticed something peculiar, depending on the translation. It either refers to the sons of Israel or the sons of God. It sounds minor, right? Wrong. This tiny translation difference has huge implications for how we read the Bible, particularly when it comes to the unseen realm and the divine counsel. So buckle up, because we're about to go on a deep dive into biblical scholarship, ancient manuscripts, and why this verse matters so much for our theology today. I'm Kevin Laymon, a pastor and a Christian therapist. Here we go. Let's start with the basics. What is Deuteronomy 32:8? The verse appears in Moses' song where he recounts how God divided the nations back in Genesis 11 at the Tower of Babel. Here's how it reads in two different translations. In the Legacy Standard Bible, the LSB, it says, "When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of man, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the sons of Israel." And then in the English Standard Version, the ESV, it says, "When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God." See the difference? Sons of Israel versus sons of God. So why does this matter? It matters because it changes how we interpret this passage, and by extension, the Bible as a whole. If it's sons of Israel, we're looking at something entirely human, descendants of Abraham. But if it's sons of God, the focus shifts to the supernatural, spiritual beings who were assigned to the nations. This is a pivotal verse for those of us who take an interest in the divine counsel view, like myself. If you're not familiar with the divine counsel view, it is an incredible concept that is found throughout the Bible, starting sort of with Psalm 82:1. And I say sort of because you could pick this up in a lot of different places, but one of the major proponents of this view, Dr. Michael Heiser, his journey started in Psalm 82:1. This view depicts God as the supreme ruler of the cosmos, governing alongside a heavenly assembly of spiritual beings, often referred to as the sons of God. These beings are subordinate to God, but play significant roles in the administration of the nations. However, their rebellion often leads to themes of judgment and redemption in Scripture. But before we go any further, let's clear up some misconceptions. This verse here in Deuteronomy 32:8 is not a contradiction, nor is it evidence that the Bible is unreliable. The differences here stem from human translation choices, not from errors in the original inspiration of Scripture. The Masoretic text, which is the authoritative Hebrew text for the Old Testament, well, it says sons of Israel. But older manuscripts like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint, a Greek translation of the Old Testament, say sons of God. So what's going on here? For centuries, scholars were puzzled. Why would two ancient traditions diverge so drastically? And more importantly, what does it mean for us as readers of the Bible? Let's dig into that. There are good reasons why some translations go with sons of Israel. The Masoretic text is incredibly reliable, meticulously preserved by Jewish scribes known as the Masoretes between the 6th and 10th centuries AD. In fact, 99.9% of the time, the Masoretic text is our go-to source for understanding the Old Testament. Add this to the fact that modern rabbinic tradition upholds sons of Israel, and you have a strong case for this reading. However, as strong as this argument is, it's not without its weaknesses, which brings us to the bad. The problem arises when we look at older manuscripts. The Septuagint, which was translated hundreds of years before the Masoretic text, uses sons of God. And then there are the Dead Sea Scrolls that were discovered in 1952, and among these ancient manuscripts, 2 copies of Deuteronomy were found, one of which contained chapter 32, verse 8. You can't make this stuff up. And guess what it said? That's right, sons of God. Benhei Elohim. This discovery was groundbreaking. because it pushed the timeline much further back than what we were dealing with the Masoretic text. The Dead Sea Scrolls date to around 30 BC, making them far older than manuscripts that we had at the current time. These scrolls aligned much more closely with the Septuagint, shedding light on why this ancient Greek translation emphasized spiritual beings. So which one is right? Personally, I lean toward the older manuscripts. The evidence suggests that sons of God was the original wording, later altered in the Masoretic text to avoid the appearance of polytheism. And let's face it, the idea that God could assign spiritual beings to the nations can make people uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that it's not biblical. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait, if it's sons of God, doesn't that mean that ancient Israelites were polytheists? Great question. This is where we need to understand the concept of the divine counsel. According to scholars like Michael Heiser, the term sons of God refers to lesser spiritual beings that we might call little g gods. So when we're looking at it, the Hebrew word Elohim simply identifies beings from the spiritual world, not a creator like Yahweh. That's why Yahweh has his own separate name in the Hebrew. So yes, these beings exist, but they're subordinate to the one true God. Heiser contends that the choice of MT or using the Masoretic texts in Deuteronomy 32:8 is based on a misunderstanding of both the textual history of the Hebrew Bible and text-critical methodology, prejudiced evaluation of non-MT texts, and an unfounded concern that departure from the MT reading results in Israelite polytheism. The primary goal of the present article is to show that understanding sons of God as the correct reading in Deuteronomy 32:8 in no way requires one to view Israelite religion as polytheistic. Toward that end, some selected comments on the text-critical issues are necessary. He goes on to say, although some may fear that to adopt the reading of the Septuagint amounts to embracing the notion that Yahweh is the author of polytheism, nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, a proper understanding of the concept of the divine counsel in the Old Testament provides a decisive argument in favor of the Septuagint Qumran reading. Deuteronomy 29:26 sheds further light on this. And they went and served other gods and worshiped them, gods whom they have not known and whom he had not apportioned to them. This verse indicates that God assigned nations to these spiritual beings, but these beings later sought worship for themselves, leading to their rebellion. This aligns perfectly with the New Testament's descriptions of spiritual forces and darkness. Paul's epistles mention rulers and authorities in the heavenly places, and Colossians 2:15 speaks of Christ disarming them. Who are these rulers and authorities if not the rebellious spiritual beings that Deuteronomy 32:8 refers to? So where does this leave us? I'll tell you this. If sons of God is the correct reading, we need to grapple with the implications. It means the nations were assigned to spiritual beings, and those beings failed in their roles, seeking worship and leading humanity astray. This sets the stage for redemptive history, where Christ's mission includes reclaiming the nations from these fallen powers. Think about it. When Jesus says in Matthew 28:18, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me, he's declaring victory over these rebellious spiritual forces. And when Revelation speaks of every tribe, tongue, and nation worshiping the Lamb, it's the ultimate fulfillment of God reclaiming what was lost. This perspective has transformed the way that I read the Bible. Suddenly, passages about spiritual warfare, rulers and authorities, and even the Great Commission take on new depth. It's a story of cosmic redemption where God's sovereignty and justice triumph over rebellion, not just among humans, but also in the unseen realm. In the end, whether you lean towards sons of Israel or sons of God, the important thing is to wrestle with the text. Don't shy away from the tough questions. Engage with the scholarship. Don't just rely on presuppositions that you've heard. Dive into the manuscripts and let the Bible speak for itself. For me, sons of God makes the most sense, not just historically, but theologically. It ties together the narrative of Scripture in a way that's both profound and incredibly satisfying. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about topics like the divine counsel, the unseen realm, and how they connect to everyday faith, be sure to check out a lot of our past episodes. This channel actually began that way. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us create content that challenges and encourages believers to think biblically. Thanks for watching, and as always, God bless.